took advantage of his weaknesses. I have not been honest with him about my abilities.
If you can't hear singing, but you see their eyes glow red, the Reaper will be coming to take away the dead.
You don't do this type of work often, do you?
Anyway, what can I do for you?
The Raven knocked over the bin. It spilled garbage all over the street.
Command not understood.
If we could find someone with a working knowledge of those tunnels, we'd be set.
There's nothing else in there that I can use.
So in 2013, in addition to visiting you, a very important album came out, which was an album called The Raven That Refused to Sing and Other Stories by Steven Wilson. And you told me to listen to it because our mutual friend Agustin Cordes of Senscape had recommended it. And we both listened to it, and I would say that this album, in addition to Steven Wilson's other more recent album, had a lot of influence on Shardlight. Would you agree?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I knew Steven Wilson from his Porcupine Tree stuff, and I was just chatting to Agustin, and that album had came out, and he said, "Ben, you really, really need to listen to it." And I said, "Oh, I've been kind of putting it off. Some of his other projects hadn't interested me much in the last few years, but he said, this is amazing." So I kind of listened to it, and it was absolutely amazing. And I was sort of talking to you, and I said, I've recommended it to another friend of mine, Dean, and told him it's like a cross between old Pink Floyd and King Crimson and all of that stuff. And you said, hey, that sounds like something I'd like. So you checked it out as well, and we kind of... Some of the themes in that, because it's got a lot of ghost stories and that sort of stuff, the eerie feeling and the ravens and everything really became influential in us. And actually when we were driving around Australia, writing the very start of Shardlight together, we listened to it.
And I listened to it quite a lot while I was writing the rest of the game too. So I would say the most... Yeah, I would say the most blatant references to that album, as well as his more recent one, Hand Cannot Erase, which came out in 2015, and which we listened to the second time I visited you in Australia as we drove around.
Yeah.
The most obvious influences are obviously the Ravens, with...
Yeah, and the fact that the Ravens that are the Reapers don't make any noise.
Yeah.
They refuse
There's
to
a
sing
song
sound
on that album as well called The Watchmaker, which I thought about a lot when I was coming up with the idea of the Reaper's character, and the whole imagery of him sitting at his workbench, like tinkering with the mechanical ravens, I thought I thought about that song a lot when thinking about that. And also, a couple of other things that, with the more recent Hand Cannot Erase, the code phrase, I've got the perfect life, comes from a song off of that album called The Perfect Life, where they say, we've got the perfect life over and over again. So that led into Shardlight. And of course, there's a bit right here in this scene where Jess says, we're all born into this struggle, etc., etc. And that's a pretty much direct lift from the first song on The Raven That Refused to Sing called Luminal.
Great. Another collapse. I'm surprised this thing wasn't rusted shut. What are you doing back there? Do you know where the Reaper is?
Can let you borrow this one once I'm done with it, if you need it.